He got to the car. They made it to Fresh car and parked right in front of it. You know what I'm saying? And Zack chose to let them sit in. Fresh girl was in the front seat. T Streets and Fresh was in the back seat. And she hopped out the car when they pulled up and got in their car and started it. And Zack chose to tell them the little shit that he was telling them right then and there instead of leaving. Zack TV died saving Fresh, bro.
That's crazy.
He parked and explained everything that had happened inside the club. He wanted Fresh to understand how close things had come to turning violent. Before Zack could drive away, a dark-colored minivan pulled up beside his Jeep. Gunshots erupted. The bullets ripped through the Jeep's windshield. Either AMG Fresh or T Streets fired back, returning shots. Zack was hit. One bullet struck him in the shoulder. Another hit behind his ear, lodged into his brain. His foot slipped from the pedal. The Jeep lost control, veering off the road and slamming into a pole.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Around 1 in the morning, police say a gunman in another car pulled up alongside Stoner's vehicle near Clark and Polk Streets. Multiple shots were fired. A popular YouTube personality is gunned down while driving through Chicago's Printers Row neighborhood. He's identified as Zack Stoner, known on YouTube as Zack TV1.
Story involving a budding YouTube star from Chicago. Zack Stoner featured music and interviews on his shows, many highlighting young Chicago talent, along with an anti-violence message. So it was a shock to his family, friends, and followers when he was gunned down in the South Loop.
I'm getting and saw the video and everything else like that. How did you feel?
I felt like it was crazy, and whoever did this was some bitch ass nigga.
You know, he was at my show that night. I had an indie show all Chicago nights.
R.I.P. to Zack, man. Crazy.
On May 29th, 2018, entrepreneur Chicago King Dave was prepping for a major event at Refuge nightclub in Chicago. The lineup featured numerous local rappers. A showcase of the underground talent Zack TV had spent years documenting. By 8:45 p.m., the list of performers was finalized. But just minutes later, Zack TV called King Dave with a request. He wanted his friend, AMG Fresh, to be added to the lineup. King Dave made an exception, and AMG Fresh was allowed to perform.
So that's always on my mind. Like, damn, if he wasn't there, would he still be alive? And I just had to learn to, you know, it ain't your fault, you know, because I had a different plan for Zack, and it just took me some time after that. Like, I'm still affected by that. Like,
Zack arrived to the club to support and record AMG Fresh. Fresh had brought his girlfriend along. It was her birthday, and the night was supposed to be a celebration. As T Streets and AMG Fresh performed, Zack moved through the crowd, camera in hand.
so he called me and he had somebody he wanted to perform, and I'm like, bring them, you good. Gave them time, they came, showed up, left the show. Something happened, and he ended up, you know what I'm saying?
Everything seemed normal until AMG Fresh took the stage. Zack overheard a group of men talking about AMG Fresh, pointing him out. One of them said, "Isn't that the dude who beefs with the BDs?" The conversation quickly escalated. Zack realized the men were planning to jump AMG Fresh while he was performing.
He went down there to really, you know what I'm saying, help folks them, you know what I'm saying, to promote what they had going on, and he overheard motherfuckers saying what they was gonna do to him. And he was stopping that shit. But a lot of motherfuckers don't know this. He stopped motherfuckers from getting on the stage and up Fresh performance.
Without hesitation, Zack stepped in. He talked to the group, convincing them to back off, de-escalating a situation AMG Fresh wasn't even aware of. But the energy in the club had changed.
Crazy.
The night didn't feel right anymore.
I
Zack
bet.
made the decision to leave early. Witnesses later said he looked uneasy as he walked out. After leaving Refuge, Zack went to his Jeep, planning to pick up AMG Fresh and get him out of there before anything happened.
He ain't here for that, you know what I'm saying? They was about to get on the stage and Zack stopped them like, please don't do this. People don't know this though. Zack left a little early before the show ended so he can be outside on the front waiting for Fresh. When Fresh came out, he was telling Fresh get his ass in the car, but it was Fresh's girl's birthday.
When Zack found Fresh, he tried to get him inside the car immediately.
Yeah.
Zack was visibly nervous,
He already knew.
showing Fresh his gun, a silent warning that they were in a bad situation. But Fresh, unaware of what had gone down inside, was relaxed. It was his girlfriend's birthday, and
Right, because you got to figure, like he said, he didn't even know it was going down, so he don't understand the urgency of why Zack is like trying to rush him to the car. Like, yo, you know, we got to, because Zack already know. You got to understand too. This the rack. Come on, bro. Even if Zack came in the soft manner that he did on some non rah-rah, you know, shit type, you know what I mean? Like, they still was gonna, you know what I'm saying, feel some type of way about it. And Zack obviously knew that. That's why he left early. Like, fuck, let me get up out of here before shit get, you know what I'm saying, before things get, you know what I mean, get rocky. But again, you can see how it played out with old boy not understanding the urgency. That's crazy on phone. That's crazy.
wasn't in a rush to leave. Zack insisted, get in the Jeep. After some hesitation, AMG Fresh finally got in. His girlfriend and T Streets joined them. As soon as AMG Fresh got inside the Jeep, the men from inside the club noticed. They saw the car he got into. They now knew what vehicle to follow.
That's crazy.
Zack drove 2 blocks away from the club, dropping off AMG Fresh and his girlfriend at their car. Fresh's girl got out and switched to her own vehicle. Zack didn't immediately leave.
He got to the car. They made it to Fresh car and parked right in front of him. You know what I'm saying? And Zack chose to let them sit in the Fresh girl was in the front seat. T Streets and Fresh was in the back seat. And she hopped out the car when they pulled up and got in their car and started it. And Zack chose to tell them the little shit that he was telling them right then and there instead of leaving. Zack TV died saving Fresh, bro.
That's crazy.
He parked and explained everything that had happened inside the club. He wanted Fresh to understand how close things had come to turning violent. Before Zack could drive away, a dark-colored minivan pulled up beside his Jeep. Gunshots erupted. The bullets ripped through the Jeep's windshield. Either AMG Fresh or T Streets fired back, returning shots. Zack was hit. One bullet struck him in the shoulder. Another hit behind his ear, lodged into his brain. His foot slipped from the pedal. The Jeep lost control, veering off the road and slamming into a pole.
Man, that's crazy.
Around 1 in the morning, police say a gunman in another car pulled up alongside Stoner's vehicle near Clark and Polk Streets. Multiple shots were fired.
The Jeep had crashed, but the shooting had stopped. T Streets and AMG Fresh didn't wait to see what would happen next. They jumped out of the wreckage and ran to AMG Fresh's girlfriend's car. She was still parked nearby, and as soon as they got inside, she sped off.
Damn, bro.
Up
So that's crazy. Because it's like, you think it would have been any different had he not stopped to even tell him the story. You get what I'm saying? And, you know, just hearing all of this now, too, because if y'all remember, this was like so big. Like when this came out, when this happened, this was such a big deal. Because, man, Zack was like everything to Chicago. You get what I'm saying? Like on both sides, like on all sides, like respect. Like he was like the biggest thing, you know, for Chicago, like doing the Fed work. You get what I'm saying? So you think like, damn, like would it have made any difference had they not stopped and, you know, he wasted that time? Because and I said that I brought up the other story to say, like, because when you hear this story, you know, it definitely sound like, okay, he knew what was coming. It was something that was involved at the club. Initially, when this happened, everybody thought this was connected. Now, everybody that is watching this that know the Kanika, the Jenkins case, everybody was speculating like that's what this had to do with. Like, oh, this was a hit. He got taken out. But hearing this, it's like, okay. And I was just getting ready to say, like, well, damn, like, they was that pressed that Zack stopped him that they only went after Zack. But now I see how this played out. It's just like he just got caught like that. Like, that's crazy on folks.
A bystander recorded the scene from a high-rise building.
A witness, several stories
I
have
remember
posted
this.
this
I
Twitter
remember this
video
shit went
moments
viral,
after the
like,
crash.
everybody
It appears
was
to show a
watching
group of
this.
people at the scene getting
And that
into
looked
another
so
vehicle,
suspicious
then
when we
driving
was
off
watching it,
before
like-
police arrived.
In the footage, the Jeep sat motionless, its front smashed against the pole. Zack was still inside, slumped over, alone.
Man,
At 1:35 a.m., police
crazy.
arrived at the scene. They found Zack in the driver's seat, shot, unresponsive. Underneath his seat, they discovered his .40 caliber pistol. He never had the chance to use it.
Never got.
Zack
to
was
use it,
rushed to
bro.
Northwestern
It's crazy.
Memorial Hospital. Doctors fought to save him, but his injuries were too severe. At 4:20 a.m., Zachary Stoner was pronounced deceased.
15 minutes later, chick FaceTime me, showing me. They putting Zack on the stretcher, crying. I'm like, Zack? Literally was like a block and a half away.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the front, paying my DJs, like DJ Amaris. Yeah, me and DJ Amaris out there. I'm like, man, you get paid, they give you the money? I gave somebody else the money. He like, yeah, then we boom, 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 boom.
His final night had started with supporting a friend. By the end, he became a target. Had Zack just paid the price for trying to stop a fight before it even started? For a man who spent years documenting Chicago's rap scene,
Man,
his passing became another tragic headline.
From me knowing Zack and from everybody else knowing Zack, I ain't never heard of Zack to do no to nobody.
facts.
You feel me? So I don't feel like there's no reason in this world you should even want to do to Zack. Like, Zack interviewed everybody, every hood.
Like I say, he
You
was
see what I'm
good
saying?
everywhere.
Like, he's
like,
cool with everybody, so
facts on
I don't
folks.
feel like,
Like,
I just feel like, why would you want to do that to Zack?
On June 9th, 2018, Warner's Field Gatling's Chapel on Chicago's South Side. The air inside was heavy, thick with sorrow and unanswered questions. Zachary Stoner had spent his life documenting Chicago's streets. Now, he was being laid to rest. The crowd was so large that there was barely room to stand.
man.
For nearly 3 hours,
All love.
people spoke of the man who had fearlessly given underground voices a
Man.
platform. Zack wasn't a traditional journalist. He didn't work for a newspaper or sit in a newsroom. Instead, his newsroom was the streets of Chicago, where he built his legacy as one of the first true street journalists surrounding drill culture. In 2010, he launched his YouTube channel, Zack TV1. Zack TV helped shape the way the world saw Chicago's drill scene. Before record labels and journalists flocked to the city, Zack was already sitting down with future stars Chief Keef, Lil Durk, FBG Duck, giving some of their first real
Hell yeah.
exposure.
On folks.
Get shooting camera in Chicago, RIP Zack TV, you know, they...
R.I.P. I was about to mention that.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Zack TV.
That shit,
Real
man.
good dude, man. Did you guys have a relationship?
Yeah, his dad did my first interview.
He did your first interview?
Yeah, a
Came
lot
to
of
the
them
hood,
first
did it, late night.
interviews, For real.
Through his lens, the world got a first-hand look at the drill movement, straight from the source. But Zack's work wasn't without consequence. He was really in it, walking through neighborhoods where cameras weren't welcome, talking to people who lived by a different set of rules.
And if y'all see, like, it's so many YouTubers and journalists, whatever you want to call it, that do this now. And that's like always the first thing I think about is Zack TV, because he was really the first one to be doing this like this. Like I said, he changed Chicago with this. He changed Iraq with this. Like, opened up a whole new wave. Like I said, he was doing a lot of the police work, the Fed work, like really diving in deep on cases like they wasn't even trying to touch, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was different. So now if you look, like, we got so many people doing this now though. You get what I'm saying? But when he was doing it, it was nothing like it. You get what I'm saying? Giving you that raw talent, that raw like footage of like they said what's really going down in these hoods. You know what I'm saying? Come stumping like nobody was stumping. You know what I'm saying, before. So it was just different. It was different content.
Views sometimes featured artists throwing up gang signs, issuing threats, or speaking on street politics. Things that could, and often did, have real-world consequences.
Zack
right in the middle
was
of it,
big on safety. If you know Zack, you will know that he big when it come to being safe. When he first came to the Gardens, you know, that's all he did was heard about what was going on out there in the hood. Like, he never did an interview in the Garden. So he asked me more than 5 times, is I'm straight? Is I'm gonna be safe? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, he big on safety.
Some called him reckless. Others called him a hero. But everyone knew one thing: Zack was fearless. Even when he received death threats, he kept going. In interviews, he admitted that he knew the risk. He knew that by filming certain people and covering certain stories, he was putting himself in danger. But he believed in his mission to tell the truth, no matter the cost.
I feel like he is legendary as hell. Cause like this, he pulling up to any environment. Like, he ain't giving no.
Like I said, he was giving you that
just,
raw.
Just a cool who wanted to put the city on. That's all he was.
But eventually, that cost would finally catch up with him. When Zack TV's Stoner was hit, the impact rippled far beyond Chicago.
Man, hell yeah.
Street journalists around the country took notice. For many, Zack's hit was a stark reminder of the risks they were taking every day. Sean Cotton, the creator of Say Cheese TV,
that's crazy. Look how
knew
young
Zack
he
personally.
Like, he still looked the same.
He had always understood the danger of their work. But after Zack's passing, his perspective changed.
Talked about, because remember you had that pink Corvette.
Yeah.
They used to drive around, and you got rid of it after his murder.
Yeah, I got rid of that. Man.
Hell yeah.
I got rid of it. And then I stopped doing outside interviews too. You don't catch me really doing vlogs too. That's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Shout out to Sean,
man, for real.
Zack understood, as does Cotton, that some degree of danger makes more compelling videos, boosting viewership. With its homicide numbers and depth of hip-hop talent, Chicago was fertile ground for stories. But far from the lauding gangs, Stoner would encourage them to have unity. We hit one another for some stupid things. We gotta be smarter than that, y'all, he said in one video. But he was also empathetic. Zack wasn't in a gang, but was raised in gang territory and knew the culture well. His home was within Todd-Town territory, a neighborhood where the streets dictated the rules, and survival often depended on knowing them. According to police, Todd-Town and the Perry Avenue crew were locked in a long-standing rivalry.
Because I was doing DVDs before Vlad TV, and you could look it up. There was guns on the camera. It was like, what if one of those just went off accidentally?
Right.
Both were factions of gangster disciples, but alliances in Chicago's gang landscape didn't always extend beyond a few blocks. For years, the two groups exchanged threats, not just in the streets, but through rap videos, lyrics, and social media posts. Zack understood this world, but he never joined the gang. He stayed neutral, but in neighborhoods like his, even neutrality could be dangerous.
Shit, that's
when you come to high school,
everywhere.
Talk to the kids. Corporate was there, and Zack TV, for them, they was all there. I go there to motherfucking talk to the kids,
Zack TV, come there. I tell Zack, I might say, Zack, it's at a different level now. You need to start elevating your shit, bro. This what you need to do, bro. Business-wise, you need to get one location, bro, and make us come there for an interview, bro, and expand your fucking brand, bro. I'm telling you, bro, just like all the majors are fucking doing. His ass like, all right, you right. All right, you right. And then, shit, he still putting up on it.
Zack told the Chicago Defender newspaper in early 2018 that the young black men he interviewed were stuck in this box. They wanted desperately to escape, despite tough exteriors that are obligatory in their worlds. Some believe that Zack had gotten too big, that his growing influence, his rising wealth, and the power of his platform had created enemies he couldn't see coming. His friends urged him to leave Chicago, but they knew he never would.
You got to. Right?
Zack stayed strapped. He stayed strapped. You know, me and him spoke a lot, and yeah, he mentioned that a lot. That he was always prepared. He knew what he was getting into, but he was such a loving guy, and he didn't really stir up mess like that. Like, that hurt me for a long time.
Sean Cotton, who had also spoken with Zack about the dangers of their work, now received weekly death threats. One message after a controversial report read, "We're going to do you like we did Zack." After Zack TV's hit, rumors spread quickly in the streets. And soon, whispers started circulating.
Boy, they crazy.
Had AMG Fresh and T Streets set Zack up? The theory was based on one simple fact. They survived. And he didn't.
That's the question, like...
Some believe that AMG Fresh and T Streets had lured Zack into a trap, making sure he was vulnerable when the shooters arrived. They were in the car with him when the shooting started. They fled the scene. Zack was left behind. The accusations gained traction because of how they escaped. In surveillance footage, they could be seen jumping out of Zack's crashed Jeep and running to AMG Fresh's girlfriend's car before speeding off. To
we
many,
all thought them was the shooters.
It looked suspicious.
We thought them was the shooters.
Why had they left Zack behind? Did they know something was coming? Or had they just panicked and done what anyone else would do? Run for their lives.
Right.
The cameras caught Zack in a flurry. According to these reports, Zack in the flurry is they see Zack in an altercation in the club. He get in an argument with people in the club, all kind of shit. Then he loses his life. The reason nobody knew, because everybody, it's strong with the shut your mouth. Chicago back door is hell. That's dangerous as hell. That irritates me to know that Zack helped everybody and nobody gonna stand up for Zack. I ain't saying go jail.
The same day Zack was laid to rest, another man was hit. Thomas T. Streets Davis, one of Zack's closest associates, was gunned down. T. Streets had been there the night Zack was hit. He had been one of the passengers in Zack's SUV when the shots rang out on May 30th. But instead of staying at the scene, he ran. But others questioned it. Some believed it was connected, a warning, a message, or unfinished business. Others saw it as another tragic example of the reoccurring cycle in Chicago. But the timing was tough to ignore. Was T Street's hit connected to Zack's? To AMG Belle D, the rumors around Zack TV's passing were as false as they were dangerous. And as AMG Fresh's brother, he had a personal stake in setting the record straight.
Okay. A lot of people don't know that Zack TV was really at the event, really T Streets and AMG Fresh. You know what I'm saying? That's why them was the only two artists he recorded that night. He didn't care about who else was there. He was trying to build with them. He was so focused on the hundreds and the artists in the hundreds that he didn't even give a about a lot of artists. Like when it come to pushing their music, he was really they was a team. AMG Fresh, Zack TV, and T Streets.
In an interview, he dismissed the accusations outright, saying that Zack, AMG Fresh, and T Streets were a team. According to Belle D, the streets just wanted blood, After Zack's hit, people were looking for someone to blame, and AMG Fresh and T Streets became easy targets.
Right.
The street way heavier than this rap, this internet shit that motherfuckers be doing. You know what I'm saying? That was street shit. Like, and when it come to street shit and you lose a motherfucker like Zack TV, ain't nobody from his hood really trying to hit shit.
By 2019, police had interviewed 5 individuals, all between the ages of 19 and 22, and all connected to the Perry Avenue gang. Surveillance footage, eyewitness accounts, cell phone location data, and ballistics evidence placed them at the scene, leading to their arrest. For many who had followed Zack's work and the details of his hit, it seemed like the case was finally on the verge of being solved.
Man.
The suspects had been taken in, and it was only a matter of time before they faced justice. But that moment never came. Despite the arrest, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office refused to press charges. The decision was based on what they call a mutual combatants situation.
Yeah, man, that shit was crazy.
A legal principle arguing that if both parties willingly engaged in street conflict, it may not be considered a straightforward homicide.
That was
It was
crazy.
people charged with Zack death, but they let him go. They said this was mutual combat.
The prosecutors suggested that Zack's hit could have been part of an ongoing street conflict, one where all sides had played a role. But did that mean that no gang-retaliated shooting could ever be prosecuted? Because you didn't know who shot first?
Right.
For Chicago police, the case was effectively closed.
That shit
The
was
investigation
crazy,
had produced suspects, but without the backing of the state's attorney, there would be no trial,
That hurt a lot
no
of
conviction,
people.
and no justice for Zack TV. Officially, his hit remains unsolved. Zack TV was a highly respected and beloved member of the Chicago community. He will be missed. Rest in peace, Zack
RIP,
TV.
Man, yeah. That case still kind of mess with me to this day. Honestly, to this day, that case still mess with me. Like I said, it was so many. Like, this was probably like the closest thing that made sense to me. And again, the streets talk, like he said. Like, a lot of what was said was already going on in the streets, but they put this together real nice. Originally, it was so many different stories about why he got hit, how he got hit. Like I said, the biggest thing I heard at that time was the whole Jenkins case. Like, if y'all remember, he was covering her case, and he was getting, man, close to damn near solving it. It seemed like doing way more work than the police, was doing. And, he was getting so many death threats behind that. And, it was just such an eerie type of vibe around that time when he was doing it that everybody just kind of connected it with that. You know what I'm saying? I remember that vividly. Like, everybody's like, oh, it was because he was doing it with that and this and that. But again, that night when he was at the club, they knew what went down. Apparently, the ones that was around, and they knew exactly what happened. My question was how the other two didn't get hit. Because even if they caught them like that in the car, you would think they would have just sprayed. It seemed like Zack was the only target, and that was like one of the main questions that kind of stuck out. Because my thing is like, originally, if you think about it, when he said he invited dude there to perform, and the guys were there for him because they spotted him, right? Saying that he was, a part of the other side. If Zack was diffusing that means that Zack wasn't the original, the target in the first place, right? So why wouldn't you go after the ones that you were really after, even when Zack was right there? And that's what makes the whole thing, to me, kind of feel a little like fishy and off. Because wouldn't that make sense to get all of them? I'm going to get the one that I was trying to get on stage. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get Zack for trying to stop us because you know what I'm saying? You know how I go down there. They don't care if you nice or not. And the other one, we don't leave no witnesses type thing. You know what I'm saying? On foe. Like, don't that make more sense? But Zack was the only one that was hit the way he was hit, and the other ones got away. So, you know, it was easy for everybody to kind of speculate that, you know, they may have had, you know, you could see how that played out. So, man, it's just like I said, it's still to this day crazy. Still one of the craziest stories. Like I say, Zack was big in the Chicago community when it came to this. One of the first to ever do it the way he was doing it on full. Like I said, had, you know, balls of steel, because he was walking in the neighborhoods and, like I said, getting raw footage. And you heard how many warnings he got from everybody around him. Like, hey, man, you need to do this. You on it, especially when you elevate. You got to move different. And, you know, it's one of the things we see and we talk about when no matter what career or trade you in, the way you started should not be the way you end up. I'm gonna say that, especially when it's always elevation and growth involved anyway. So always, you know, think about that. He should have definitely probably, you know, started doing something different, but he felt comfortable. It was what he started. I can understand, like, why switch? This is what got me where I'm at. He felt comfortable doing it. It was real, authentic. Everybody loved it. He probably didn't feel no reason to, you know what I'm saying, switch up like that. So why? You know what I'm saying? But man, like I said, it's crazy, man. All nonsense, man. Like I said, this is probably the closest thing that, you know what I'm saying, everybody could see that how this, you know, made sense to his unaliving up until this point. And still, who knows, right? Allegedly, it's still unsolved. So, but I remember hearing even that call when the judge came down with, everybody was like, what? Like, it was crazy. Like I said, that time it's just an eerie time, crazy time, man. Like, it's just, man, unfortunate. Like, again, RP to Zack, RP Zack TV. You'll never be forgotten for sure, man. Like I say, we still, every time I turn around and see somebody doing the type of work he doing, I easily think of Zack a lot. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just want to send my condolences right now again and again. You know what I'm saying? RP. And man, y'all already know how it go, man. I'm checking out. Peace. Yeah. Whoa.